Alrighty, everybody. Let's hop into a game and see how she goes. Alright, e4, e5. King's pawn opening. I'm suspecting a knight to come around. It seems to be pretty typical these days. I'm starting to fight back a little bit on my rating. No, we are going for probably this action. Just debating out if there's anything else I could do to throw that off. I think I can just bring my knight up because the knight stops this and the knight stops the queen from going there. So I think I can just bring the knight up, right? Knight to f6. I think that's fine. I'm trying to get better at analyzing what my opponent is trying to do. I'm debating, so these are my two move options, well, three move options. I'm just trying to decide if one is better than the other right now. Bishop to c5 doesn't do a whole lot on its own, with the thought that I'm going to end up dropping it back to b6 and just have it on a nice diagonal. This could come. So is there anything I could do about that? Not particularly, really. I mean, I could go with c6. You know, c6 is actually not bad controlling both of these squares. I'd have to figure out a way to get my other... You know what, let's do it. I have to get my knight out this way. So that means I'm probably going to be pushing d6 as well, which means I definitely need to get my bishop out. Okay, so that's the move order, I think. But anyway, I'm trying to take more time to analyze what my opponent's going to do. Not just what my game plan is, but what could my opponent be thinking and what are their possible moves? Like I said, like this kind of thing. You know, with this pawn push, I'm assuming he's going to fianchetto his dark square bishop. Does that hurt me in any way right now? No, not yet. So let's push. Nope, nope, nope. What do we say? We got to get our bishop out first. Now we're ready to castle. Holding off on castling because my opponent is nowhere near ready to castle, and I don't want to open up the H file. You know, if something happens with my opponent's queen sitting out here, you know, we could have some ugly discoveries that way, but I'm not really too concerned about that right now. But I am ready to castle. I've got my bishop outside my pawn chain. I can close this pawn chain now. My d-pawn is going to be weak, all right? So my d-pawn will be weak because there's no pawn defending it. Oops. So there's no pawn defending my... What happened? Oh, he disconnected and reconnected, I think. Yeah, it looks like my opponent's having some internet trouble. So by pushing my c-pawn, I have weakened the d6 square. So pushing d6 is something I need to be concerned about. All right, so this is a weak pawn because there's nothing defending it, but that's okay. I'm still okay with my pawn chain. I'm not in love with it, but it's better than it could be. But more importantly, I have cut off my opponent's control with their knight, and now my bishop can get out here, put pressure on my opponent's queen, rotate around if necessary. Now my pieces are out. I can get my my other knight involved. The good news is my opponent having both his H and F pawns blocked, right? means that my bishop is not going to be harassed anytime soon. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get our other knight into the game. Now this knight does not have a lot of squares to go to, right? Most of his squares are taken away, and when I castle, the knight is, the rook is going to end up on f8, which means this knight's going to have nowhere to go other than going back home or coming over here to b6. Just something to keep in mind, right? If that's ever becomes an issue, just something I want to plan on. All right, but now I'm not looking at my pieces. Let's look at what my opponent's doing. So there's tons of defense here, so no reason for me to push a pawn. If I push here, he captures, I capture, but then he can capture for free. He's got plenty of defenders along this square, so there's nothing really for me there. All right, let's just go ahead and castle now. I think I'm okay castling. I'm looking at the possibility of rotating my bishop around to put pressure along this pawn. Now that my opponent has castled, are there any concerns along here? No, not yet. So let's go ahead and start this show. I need to keep an eye on where my opponent can bring their pieces. All right, and again, now I'm going back to scanning what my opponent's plan could be. Possibly something like this. Right, because his last piece to develop is this dark square bishop. So how is he going to get the dark square bishop developed? Maybe here or maybe here, which to get out this way means pushing a pawn. The Italian game and the Gioco Piano says start with d3 and then eventually push d4. But that usually comes with support from the c3 pawn. The knight can't go here. Actually, this knight is farewell. No, it's not. It's not trapped. Okay, I was gonna say the knight is trapped, but no, I guess it can go back there. So I'm looking at this and this for my opponent. Thinking of bringing my bishop here. I mean, my rook to e8 and my bishop here to g6. Like I said, I do have to still be slightly careful. This knight could end up here, and maybe I start with maybe I start with h6. H6 always feels like a weakening. I am... Right now, I'm changing gears a little bit. If this opens up, my rooks are defended, but his rook is not. The question becomes, am I accidentally trapping my bishop? No, because I've got this, so it's not quite trapped. And that does give me enough time to capture and open up another line. This really weakens my D and C pawns, though, and I don't know if that's something I want to do. Just drawing lines, and even if this pawn were to come all the way down in queen, I mean, I've got that square covered so many times, I should be okay. So let's just continue with our plan. So we now have 2 attackers. My opponent only has 1 defender. He could easily get another defender by sliding the rook over. Does that help me in any way? Well, I'm going to start with... I don't want to give up my light square bishop. But my thought process is captures, captures. I plop my knight there with immediate pressure on the queen. Now let's start here. Pressure on the queen. My opponent's options are either to capture back or to capture here. If he captures here, I just move the rook. That's all there is to it. So that was the plan. The plan has been executed. I do have to be really careful, though, because... Yep. This is defended. Right, my opponent has some pieces aiming down here right over my king. I have to be extra careful of that. I am going to bring my other knight up. So when I grab this pawn back, I'll be up a full pawn. Was that worth it? That is the question, isn't it? Was it worth it to allow my opponent to open up this outside file? Don't know. I'm probably gonna park my... Well, I guess I could park a knight here. No, the knight's coming. The knight's coming over here. The knight's coming to f6. Is that being too greedy? Is that too greedy? Because if he pushes, then I'm stuck. So yes, that is too greedy. We can just go here, right? Captures, captures. Or even captures, captures. So this guy is attacked twice, but it's defended 3 times. I mean, it's defended twice, so I'm okay. And if I have to, I can slide a bishop. Yeah, good. I'm glad he took there. That means this guy will not be defended. And I'm okay with that. My queenside pawns are an absolute disaster right now. Is there any reason I can't just take? Why can't I just take? I was looking at this. Problem is my opponent has 1, 2, 3 defenders on that, so I'm not really making any headway. I'm totally fine with that alignment. I'm just debating on how to take this pawn back. I want to take it back now, and the question is how. Do I want to get my queen out? Do I just want to pop a rook up? Am I overthinking it? Unless he was thinking take, I take back, and then he has access to 2 pawns, so he gets 3 pawns for the exchange. I don't know. Oh my goodness, I just missed something, didn't I? I missed a whole rook, free rook. I missed a free rook, guys. I completely missed a free rook. I cannot believe it. And then I can rotate it up and around over here. Puts pressure on the rook. Queen defends the pawn. I can't believe I missed the whole rook. I mean, I can believe it. It's me, but... Is it asking too much? Probably. Let's offer a queen trade. God, if that knight wasn't there, man. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. So what is my opponent looking at? Ah. This actually helps with that, though. This actually helps with that. Takes, takes. He can now take with the bishop. But I can take here with check. Oof, this is getting complicated real fast. My opponent has a very strong attack going here. I'm going to start here because that comes with check. So that gives me one turn to get my thoughts in order. So we're defending the G7 square. Still, actually, I could do it this way. Still defending the G7 square and preparing to run should I need. Nah, let's leave it on a light square. I can just grab here. Still defending the G7 square. I have my own long-range attacker. Ah. I have a thought. I'm going to start with this because that gets my opponent to move first. Then if I have to, I can just grab here or I can back up, whichever I need. But I was thinking if I could move this pawn out of the way, this rook could come over and trap the queen. Still defending, but now I'm also attacking. It's the best my opponent... Nope, that's a fork. That's a fork. That's a trouble for my opponent. Just looking to see if there is any checkmate opportunities here. So the idea is if I can get my pawn here, this is checkmate because the pawn is covering this square. That should be it. Bravo, bravo, bravo. So there was a little bit of time trouble there at the end, but the plan stood. The plan stood. I don't know. Oops. Let's take a quick look at the analysis. I don't know what this opening is. Napoleon attack. Very rare opening. Not very many moves, not very many games, so Turn the engine on real quick. Yeah, so my knight move was the best move, and then we transitioned. Nope. Yeah, I should have just gone up with a normal opening, but this c-pawn move was obviously a bit weak. But the goal was to cut off my opponent's knight. Oh, yeah, that would have worked. Because 1, 2, 3 defenders of that square. My opponent has 1, 2, 3 attackers, so I would have been okay. But yeah, you see, black has a slight edge in this game. Okay, so this move here, I did not want to do because this has a tendency, if this bishop were to fall, right? Let's say it got traded off somehow, right? Something like this, and this bishop gets traded off. That opens up this outside file, and I'm just hesitant to do that. Yeah, this pawn seemed dangerous, but I still have 3 major pieces defending my back row. So even if this even if this pawn promotes, it doesn't do anything on its own. So I was okay just letting it be. Yeah, these were the 2 real kind of thoughts that I had. Yeah, I could push past and just lock this guy up, but honestly, I decided to go for the pawn, and boy, the engine hated that, didn't it? I didn't see any danger, though. Ah, okay, yep, this would have been a good opportunity to bring the knight around. But it does kind of mean the knight is overloaded. Yeah, just trade off those bishops. I felt fine. At this point in time, I felt real fine. I had no qualms whatsoever about the game. I felt like my position was strong. My pawns are a little bit weak, right? But yeah, I don't know what this was, honestly. Yeah, just snag. I was not going to triple my pawns. So this is something that I need to be better aware of, right? This alignment. Whenever you have a rook or a queen or something right on top of your king like that, this pawn is pinned, and so this guy getting over, there is some danger there. Excuse me. I cannot believe I missed this. Derp. Yeah, I think the rook was trapped here. I just couldn't figure. As fast as I was calculating, I couldn't come up with it. But the rook does not have any squares along this. Yeah, and doesn't have any squares along here. So that rook is trapped. I missed it. I thought it might be, but I figured I'll go after the queen first. Oh wow, look at this. Look at this. Just not my day. Missing things. I'm not certain why this is such. Oh, because you have to drive the queen away and then. Right, drive the queen away and then you get a free bishop out of it. I see. Yep. Why didn't I just take here? What's the worst that could happen? I go down a pawn, I guess. I don't remember what my concern was here at this point in time. I guess there wasn't a concern. I just thought that I would put an in-between move in, but that in-between move actually helped my opponent. Yeah, why didn't I just take? I don't know. Because this bishop is hanging, and the only reason the bishop is hanging... Oh, right, because I was worried about this. I had a rook on the second row, or the seventh row, excuse me. I did not even notice. I completely forgot that I had brought that up there earlier. Ha! I had that defended. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I could have had free material this whole time. I was worried about something didn't need to be worried about. Yeah, and the fork too strong. That would have been good there. Push the pawn here. And then, yeah, who cares if you give up? That comes with check. All right, I'll give you that. But that comes with check, and if your opponent doesn't bring it back, that's checkmate, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Because my rook is pinned. But that's dropping a whole rook, though. Hang on, hang on. Yeah, if he were to grab here, that just drops a whole thing. Yeah, so he should have just grabbed. He should have taken. And that comes with check. And then I have to hide. That comes with a check. Nope. Yep. Okay. All right. So I'm just playing with lines now. Anyway, this was a fun game, guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking around with me. This was a nice long game, and you get to hear some of my thoughts on the plans I'm making to try to watch what my opponent's doing and figure out what their goals are. That way, I can better prepare instead of just staring at my pieces and getting my plan ready. Looking at what your opponent's doing and looking at what their goals are and making sure that I'm not missing something easy. Even though I still miss easy stuff like, oh, hello, a full rook. Can't believe I missed that. Alrighty, guys. That's it for me. I'll catch you in the next one. Y'all take care.